Hi, I'm Hardik and welcome to Xenett 2.0 event. Right now, I am in Ahmedabad, the city of heritage and culture of India, which is where Xenett was born in 2020. Today, we have very exciting things to show you at this event. So, what is Xenett 2.0? It is our biggest feature launch event in the history of Xenett. It includes intuitive design, new interactive modules, and plenty of new features that will allow you to go further and be more successful than ever. It also includes major architectural changes, outperformance, and improved data security. It is more powerful, robust, and smoother than ever before. Now, before I deep dive, I would like to share an interesting story of Xenett on how we got started. As an accountant with decades of experience, I know how complicated the review and close process can be. We often find ourselves struggling to meet deadlines, waiting for hours to get information from client, and providing them the accurate information on time. Despite multiple reviews, we always leave room for the errors. And that's why, as an accountant, we had to spend extra time reviewing the books. That's when the idea of automating the review process came into the picture, and we launched Xenett Auto Review in mid-2020. Accountants welcome this innovative idea, and today, more than 3,000 plus customers are evolving and growing with us. I would like to share some of these success stories with you.
Hi, I'm Jessica with Pronto Books, based in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Hi, I'm Trisha Grimes with Trisha Grimes CPA.
Hi there, Tonya Hiltz from Cloud Business Services and Tonya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp.
I'm Jim Stevens with On Call Accounting, and we specialize in accounting for nonprofits and small government entities.
My name is Esther Friedberg Karp, and I own a QuickBooks consulting practice in the Greater Toronto area.
Hey folks, my name is Paul Burns and I am a bookkeeper, and my company is Win Nickel Solutions.
And I've started using Auto Review. It has been a total game changer. It catches all kinds of mistakes and errors. They're super responsive to any suggestions that I have, and almost everything I've suggested they say is in development.
In the world of value billing bookkeeping, automation is our best friend. But if we're not careful, sometimes we can end up with a huge mess to clean up. Auto Review makes sure that doesn't happen.
I discovered this great app called Auto Review by Zenet. It is a game changer. It helps me figure out what the problem areas are and how to fix them.
I'm spending so much less time reviewing the work, and the quality of the books is it's improved dramatically.
Auto Review is an elegant system that has a checklist that goes into QuickBooks Online with a two-way sync.
When you use this and you apply it to your accounts, you will be, I'm going to say, impressed with what it finds, the situations that it finds, the things that you can clean up, and how little time it's going to actually take you.
Our ultimate mission was always to build a comprehensive platform that makes your team and your client's life easier and allow you to focus on core areas. During this course, we spoke to many of you to understand your current processes and what can help further to make your practice scalable and efficient. If we visualize various activities in accountant's life, they are managing the day-to-day tasks like recording vendor bills, recording transactions from bank feed, recording payroll entries. Now, once you're done through all the bookkeeping tasks, then you have different tasks and checklists to follow as a part of your closing process. You could be looking for duplicate transactions, miscoded transactions, missing entries. As a part of closing process, you could also be preparing working papers for prepaids, accruals, and depreciation. While doing all these activities, you often need to communicate with your staff or manager or client for any questions or clarifications. Now, looking at all these activities, it looks pretty straightforward. However, if we deep dive, we see that all these activities are actually disintegrated. For example, you could be using an app to manage your routine tasks, but then for the review purpose, you could be using Xenett, or you might be just using your accounting file. Similarly, for the closing purpose, you might be using an app or Excel or Word checklist. Your working papers or schedules would exist somewhere in your local drive or Google Drive or any other cloud storage. For all your internal questions, you could be again using different apps like Slack, Teams, or any other apps. Similarly, to communicate with your client, you could be using email, Google Sheet, or any other portal for that reason. At last, whenever the numbers are ready, you might be again using your accounting software or any other app to prepare and send reports to your client. One of the feedback we have been continuously hearing from many of you is that with the multiple apps, not only you got to pay multiple subscription, but also training staff, juggling between the apps, and keeping track of things has really made your life difficult. The need of the hour is to have a unified system that helps manage and keep track of all critical accounting activities under one roof. This is more important than ever before. Let's hear some of the feedback from you guys.
Hi Zenet team, I'm Aaron with Jitasa. We're an accounting firm that services nonprofit organizations. We've been using Xenett to automate our monthly book review process for the past year or so, and it's been helping us tremendously. It helped us standardize the book review process and also allowed us to quickly see any errors or issues in our clients' books, along with easily being able to correct them. However, that's just one of the activities of our entire closing process. Some of the others are recording month-end closing adjustments like prepaids and accruals. We also have our own review checklist that we follow. We have different people doing different work, like one person preparing and another person reviewing, and they both do their individual sign-offs. We also prepare reconciliations and work papers for our balance sheet accounts. It would be really, really nice if Zenet could incorporate all these additional features into the system. We really think that it could be game-changing in the efficiency and also the quality of the services that we provide to nonprofit organizations. So we thank you for considering our requests, and we consider Zenet to be a partner rather than a vendor, and we really appreciate all that you guys do. So thank you very much.
We can't wait for you to experience the future of modern accounting. We're constantly challenging ourselves to raise the bar to make it better and even more loved. I'm super excited about what is coming next at Zenet. Introducing robust, powerful, and comprehensive Zenet 2.0. Zenet new platform is incredible. The power of Zenet 2.0 allows you more control, scalability, and visibility. We have simplified the whole experience by bringing all the major accounting activities under one roof. It will elevate the way you work and collaborate. Let's jump right into the feature of Zenet 2.0 and why it matters to you. Hey guys, so I'm recording this video to talk about all of the new changes, new modules, new features that we are coming up with Zenet 2.0 version. So as you can see on my screen, this is Zenet 2.0. The first thing that we have done is that we have not only introduced new modules, but we have also revamped the entire design as well. So you can now see the left menu bar where all of those new modules are now appearing here. So to start with the speed mode, which is what we used to have in the previous Zenet version, one of the things that we did here is introduce a block system. So what I mean by block is that block is a group of similar transactions, right? So to explain you with the example, I'll take you to the existing version of Zenet and I can show you. So let's say in this particular case, I had 20 transactions in uncategorized account. And then I have some transactions let's say for this vendor, some here, some are here, some are here, some are here. So I need to kind of go over different places and select all those transactions. And then there's going to be a bulk panel that will come out from the top. And then I will say that, hey, I want to move all of these transactions to office supplies. And then I'm going to apply it, right? But with this new version, we are now grouping all of those similar transactions under one block. So now reclassifying those transactions will be much more easier. So now in this case, because now I have a group of that all of those vendor transactions at one place, I can simply say that, hey, I want to move all of those research transactions to office supplies here, and that's it, save it, right? So that way, resolving transactions in speed mode will be much more faster and smoother. So that's number one improvements that we did with the speed mode. Another thing that we did here is that we kind of renamed the terminology for the transaction sign-off, because we are also using sign-off terminology for the task purpose as well, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. So for transactions, if at all, let's say the transactions are all fine and you want to kind of tell to Zenet that, hey, this is fine, I don't need to sit here. Instead of calling it sign off, now we are going to call it mark as reviewed, right? It does exactly the same thing as sign off. It's just that to avoid any kind of confusion, we have renamed it to say mark as reviewed, and it will hide from here, right? So that's that's a second change that we have done here. Now, one of the major change that we have done with the speed mode is that starting and ending the closing process and signing off the review points, right? To explain this better, excuse me, I'll take you back to the existing version where you would generally come here, select the review period, select the start review, and then one by one you would go through individual review points, and then you would sign them off, right? So in this particular case, once you are done signing them all of them, eventually this percentage reaches 200%. That's when you will hit the end review. So if you look at it, along with finding the errors, this is where the entire closing process was being driven, right? Excuse me. So now with this new version, this piece, the closing process will differ. And for that, we have actually introduced a new module called close mode, right? We have in fact expanded the scope of the close module, right? And I'll talk about what new things that you can do with this close mode, right? So coming back to Xenett 2.0, you will now not be able to start and end the closing process from speed mode. You will now not be able to sign off each of these individual review points, right? So the purpose of speed mode will be like you can come here anytime you see the issues and you start fixing it, right? So it's more like a mode where you can use it for cleanup purpose or diagnostic review purpose. And we encourage our customers that you can come here. You don't have to wait till the month end to begin your close process. This is independent. You can resolve all of your errors even when you have not started your closing process, right? So that is where the purpose of speed mode is very clear now. You can come here anytime, you see the issue, you fix it, irrespective of the fact whether the close process has started or not, right? So that's that. With this close mode, so now this is the entirely a new module that we have introduced. Now with this close mode, you can systematically create your entire close process here, right? So the entire close mode is driven through closing to-dos and the GL reconciliation, right? These are actually, in simple words, these are nothing but the task only, but we have given these terminologies called closing to-dos and the GL right, which I'll kind of explain you what they are. So let me help you visualize, like, let's say as a part of closing process and in specific to the bank accounts, right? We do certain activities, and one of the activities is, let's say, review unclear transactions. Now, this is a task, but to review unclear transactions, I need to pull up all my unclear transactions, right? So that is where you will now be able to connect your speed mode review points to the closing task. So in this case, in this example, what I have done here is that there is a task called review unclear transactions. And then when I click here, I can easily pull up all my unreconciled transactions right here. And this is nothing but the speed mode review point only. Okay. Along with that, it also allows me to create the checklist, right? So this checklist feature wasn't available in the previous version. So now, while reviewing unclear transactions, if at all there are some guidelines or checklists that you guys follow, you can now incorporate here. So in this case, I created checkpoints like, hey, review checks that are not cleared for more than 90 days. Look for any transfer entries, payment entries, or deposit entries that are not clear, right? So things like this, I don't have to now remember, or I don't have to refer to any external document for that reason. I can see it here and I can quickly mark it as done. Another thing that you can also do now is that you can associate your step-by-step procedures here, or if at all you guys have some SOPs in place, you can associate it with your task. So for example, and this is a simple task, but imagine if this was a complex task and you wanted to include step-by-step guide, you can also associate here. So imagine me as a new user, I'll not have to ask, or I'll not have to go to different places as such. I can immediately pull up all the associated steps just from here itself, right? So that is where you will be able to associate your SOPs as well. Along with this, you will now also have an option to assign the preparer and reviewer, right? So you can also have just one preparer, or you can also have preparer and reviewer both assigned, right? Depending upon your needs. Along with that, you can also assign the due date. You can have a separate due date for preparer, separate due date for reviewer as well. And both of them can now do the sign off as well. Okay. So technically, if you look at it, like fundamentally, even though you are not signing off with speed mode review items, indirectly you are doing it, because as I was just showing it to you, you can now link these speed mode review items to a task, and now it is the task or closing to-dos that is getting signed off, right? So that is how the sign off will happen. Similarly, what you can also do here is that, let's say while performing this task, you come across some questions for your team or manager or whoever from your team, right? You can pull it up from here, right? You can type in the new questions, or if there is some thread already going on, you can start responding that as well, right? So again, while doing any of these activities, you don't need to go to your Teams or Slack or any other chat messenger to initiate this conversation, right? The idea behind integrating that communication with the task is because now you can easily keep track of what is happening, what is holding up for this particular task, right? At times things might get lost in the chat, because it's not the only question that you're talking about. You might be dealing on 10 different questions for 10 different clients, right? So it's very difficult to keep track of what is answered, what is not. So you should be able to easily manage any internal questions right from here. Similarly, the next icon is for the client communication. So if at all while performing any of these activities, you come across a question for your client, you can immediately ask from here. And as you guys know, or might know already, is that we also have a client interface. So anytime you come across any questions and you put it up, like you ask here, it will immediately publish on the client portal as well. So again, the idea is also that we didn't want you to send a separate email and send different emails for all of your questions. Instead, you can easily link all of your questions to the task that you are performing, right? So that way, not only it is easier for the person who is performing the task to locate those related communications at one place, it is also quite easier for the person who is reviewing. Because imagine if I have created all of those questions here and I have linked it here, if my manager is looking at it, he would be able to clearly know that, hey, this is a task. The reason why it's open is because there is some internal communication going on and there's some questions yet to be answered. Similarly, there's some requests which are pending from the client's end as well, right? So that way it gets super handy to associate and to know the status of each of these tasks. We also have a column for review note. So review note is nothing but like, it's more of an observation where you don't require a feedback from anyone else, but it's just that, let's say I was looking at this account and I found an observation and I'm just kind of putting it here, right? So that way you can, like in this case, the example was that the balance is quite low because we paid off that 25K loan. So that is how you can put it. The another thing which I just spoke was the GL rack. So GL rack is also kind of task. The only difference with that is that it is also pulling the balance as per books, and you can also associate or link the reconciliation as well. So for example, in this case, it says Chase checking account. This is the balance as per books, and with the rack balance, when you click on edit icon, you can also manually put in that, hey, this is the balance, which is what I have prepared as a part of my reconciliation. So it's like forcefully someone is entering it, which is this also means that I'm confirming that I'm entering this balance and I'm kind of verifying that this balance, I'm reconciling it and there is no difference. Along with this, I can also associate my working files. It could be a link, it could be a PDF statement, it could be an Excel document. You can associate all here, right? So that way, it also becomes pretty handy for me as well as for my manager, because they can easily find or locate any associated working files related to this account right here as well. Okay, and I'll also show you the beauty of this when I kind of talk about the balance sheet in a few seconds. So that is how you can also manage it, all of your reconciliation here. One of the thing which is also most likely available in mid-April or somewhere in April is Excel embedded, right? So if you guys are already using Excel to manage your working papers or any sort of calculations, we are going to embed the Excel itself in this system. So rather than managing your calculations in your local files or somewhere on the cloud, you can easily put all of those information right here, right? So that way, again, it will be very handy for the person who is preparing, at the same time for the person who is actually reviewing it as well, right? So that's a feature which is yet to come somewhere in April. Along with this, so it's pretty simple. You can all of those tasks or closing to-dos are actually structured in the different folders, right? So cash and bank accounts, account receivable. Right now, I have created folders to match the balance sheet format, but you can create whatever folders that you like, right? It's totally customizable. And by the way, all of those tasks that you see here, you can also import it from the template. While you can add those tasks manually using this plus sign, like closing to-dos or add GL reco, right? So you also have an option to import it from the template as well. So close import from template, and then you can build your own custom template as well if you like. I mean, we will be giving you the default templates, but you can always change it as well, right? So that's another thing that you can manage here. You can, when you click on this task, it will actually give you a holistic view on a full screen view, right? So I can see this is a task. This is where the entire SOP or step-by-step guide is mentioned. I can also define the recurrence here, right? So if at all, if there are certain tasks that you only do once in a quarter or once in a year, you will be able to set the recurrence accordingly. If it's in this particular case, this task needs to be done on every closing process, like every closing process. So that's why it says every close period. But you will have an option to set it to recur on, let's say, once in a quarter or once in a year, however you like. So that's where you can also see the full view. There are some quick filters here. By the way, this is where you will be selecting, starting, like select the month for which you want to start the close, right? And eventually when you are done with it, this is where you will be able to manage the status for the close as well, right? So it's no longer about starting and ending the closing process. You literally can assign the custom statuses as well for each close that you perform, right? So like in this particular case, if at all I wanted to track that, hey, the reason why this close is not done because it's stuck because of missing information from the client. I mean, you may have a custom status that says stuck due to client, right? And you can actually customize this status as well, however you like. So this is how you will be able to assign the statuses to each close that you are performing. So the close mode is a place where the actual work happens. So imagine if I was a preparer or reviewer, I would generally come here, I would look at my task and I would start performing it, right? And these are all the quick filters that I can quickly use that, hey, just show me the reconciliations only, or just show me the to-dos only, or just show me the ones that are assigned to me, right? So you can play around with that as well. Now imagine if me being a manager, my goal is to make sure that at the end, the balance sheet and profit and loss should look accurate. I may not get into every single detail of it, right? So for that, what I would do is that I would jump on balance sheet here. And whenever I'm reviewing balance sheet, I can see corresponding details which were provided at the time of closing process will also show up here. So now, let's take an example of this account. I can see the review note that was left when my junior guy was doing the close process, right? So I can kind of know that, hey, I know the answer that, hey, the reason why the balance is low because of we paid this loan, right? So it could be any note, but this is just an example. I can see there's some communication happening here. So I can kind of see what's going on with this. If any client communication going on, I can also pull it up from here as well. In fact, if I have a question, I can also initiate and ask the new questions from here also, right? So that's that. I can pull up the associated working files if my staff has associated or attached. I can click here and say, this is a link, and it will open up any working papers that my staff has attached, and I can quickly look at it. No, this makes sense, and it's all fine. So, and this is where it gets very handy, because imagine I don't have to go to different places. I don't have to go back to my staff and ask for those information. It's all here. I can see the review note. I can see the associated working files. I can see what's happening, any communication going on internally or with the client. It's all at one place also, right? So that's the beauty of it. Whatever you do as a part of close will also show up here. So that's a major change that we have introduced as a part of closing process. All of your closes, you will be able to find here, all for this particular client, right? In specific, you will be able to find it here, right? So that's a close module for you guys. We have also introduced a new module called internal comments. So you can be asked, or let's say if you ask questions from 5 different, you ask me some questions from here or some questions from somewhere else to your staff or team members, eventually it will land here. When you click on this icon, you can find out all of your questions at one place, right? Because you would otherwise not know where the questions are. You cannot literally go to every single task and look for those questions. So all of your questions, internal questions especially, will land here on this screen, and you can apply the filters as well that, hey, I just want to look at the questions that are assigned to me, or I just want to look at the questions that are assigned to specific people, right? So that way you can kind of look at all of your questions at one place. Similarly, we have also put the module called questions here in the end, where all the questions related to clients, you can find it here, right? So this is also gets very handy because I like, at least I don't now have to deal with hundreds of emails. I can clearly see that, hey, there are 8 questions I'm still waiting for my client to answer. There are one of them that my client has responded and I need to now take an action. We have also introduced a draft functionality here. So the way it's going to work is that, let's say, I don't want my junior staff to directly ask questions to my client without me looking at it first. So what would now happen is that whenever you are asking any question, you will have an option to save it as draft. So it will land here. And then if I'm all okay, I can then publish it and then it will publish to the client portal, right? So that's another feature that we have added. We have added this universal plus button. So like, let's say I'm in this module and like, this is a universal button. There are some actions which will actually show up when you are into that particular module, right? So in this case, like if I wanted to ask question here, I can kind of start asking the questions. If I have a transaction specific questions, let's say if I'm into speed mode and I had some questions on transaction, I can say, hey, what is this transactions for? And I can also ask it from here as well. So transactional questions, you can ask from the transaction itself, but other than transactional questions like requesting a bank statement or any missing document, you can use this plus button. Now this plus button is also universal in a way that if you go to close mode, you will see some more buttons there, like menu items like, hey, add closing to do and add GL, right? So it's like some of the items are conditional. Whenever you are into that module, only those action items will show up then. So that's that. Taking you back to the questions module again, like with the client portal, we have added one more feature where now your clients will also be able to ask questions to you. Previously, it was one way, like only accountant user were able to ask questions to the client, but now your client can also request from you. And any of those client requests will show up here, request from client, and then all those requests that you respond will land here. Like let's say if there's a question here and I took an action here, and it will go to your responses as well, right? We have done some more changes, like added some more feature for the client portal. One of them is that a magic link as well. So you will now be able to have a magic link without password as well. Tags and priority. So priority, the way it's going to work is that, let's say if you have 5 users on the client's end and you wanted to ask a specific question to specific user, that way you can kind of ask those questions as well. So that is where you can set the privacy. So only that client user will be able to see that. This is generally helpful. Like if there are client users are using credit card and you have some uncategorized transactions, you definitely want to ask those uncategorized transactions of these users, right? Only, you don't want to ask those questions to everyone, right? So that way you can actually use it. So that's a new addition for the client portal. We have also introduced a brand new module to manage your routine tasks, and that is to-do module, right? So to-do module is where you can manage all of your routine tasks or one-time tasks, which are not specifically a closing task as such. So for example, tasks like, hey, clear the bank feed, or send timesheet reminders to employees, or processing payroll, or clear the inbox and process all the documents that are received, right? Similarly, when you are onboarding any client and you want to take care of your onboarding tasks, like, hey, create a QuickBooks account, request bank access, request last finalized tax return. So all of those one-time tasks, you can easily manage it here, right? To-do is also powerful where the reason, and before I kind of get there, the reason why we have separated the closing to-dos separately and to-dos separately is because closing to-dos is a part of a workflow. Like you start the closing process and you end it, right? So we didn't want to confuse your routine task with those closing to-dos. So that is why we have a separate module where you can manage all of your routine tasks. When you click on any of these to-dos, you can actually look at the whole information, right? And here you can see this is a task name. You can assign the tags. You can put some more information about that. You can create subtasks. You can create checklist, attachment. You can set the recurrence weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, however you like. It's pretty powerful that way, right? So this is where you can also initiate the communication with your staff from here, right? So that is where you can also ask directly from here. There are some quick filters which you can easily play around. There are some additional options, like you can also import tasks from the template as well. So we do have a settings. So when you go to settings on the to-do, you can actually set up the custom field as well. You can have a custom statuses for the to-do. So there are so many other features that you can also do with your to-do module as well, right? So that's a brand new module that we have introduced as a part of managing your routine tasks. One thing that we have also changed is the settings got a new look. So previously the settings were scattered, like it were like practice settings were at different places, client settings were at different places. So now you can see this icon and all of your settings will now show up at one place. So this one is a practice. So I can see all the practice leader settings here. This one is the client. I can see all the clients, and this particular section will keep changing depending upon which client you are on. So if I'm into client P, I will see the setting for that client, right? And the third one, which is my own setting, right? So I can say my account, notification preferences, and everything. I can find it here, right? So that's a setting module that we have introduced as well. So that's that. Excuse me. The last major change that we have done is we have improved the practice dashboard. I mean, it has got some more statistics because we have also introduced new modules. So you will now see some more stats here as well. You can also create some custom views here where, like, I created one view that says, just show me the clients with overdue closes, right? So I created custom views as well. So that way you can create your custom views however you like, okay? So, one more thing is that the to-do module is also available at your practice level. So what this means is that if you are working on 10 clients, you will be able to see all of your tasks across 10 clients on one single page, right? So that way you can plan it easily. Like you could say that, hey, just show me the task for this week or next week or today, right? So that way you can simply organize your work. So that's a major update, guys, as to what Zenet 2.0 is all about. This is not live yet. All of those changes will actually go live on April 1st. We will be sending out some communication in between so that you guys would know what you would need to do when you look at this on 1st of April, right? Because there are certain things will change and there are certain changes that you'll have to do it, right, for your own practice, and you will not have to worry about it. We will be working with you to make sure that you guys are all set up and you guys are kind of good to go, right? So that's pretty much it. I hope you also feel as excited as we are with this new with this 2.0 version, and yeah, looking forward to working with you and wish you the good luck. Thank you, guys.